software engineering can ruin your mental health. That is right, guys. Software engineering can ruin your mental health. And this is from somebody who is an MIS major with a computer science minor and who was a software engineer at one point in time in my life, guys. So here's the thing. 1 year, I was on the road 268 days of the year doing a warehouse management implementation. And I can tell you this, with the amount of travel that I did and the amount of work that I did, working 60 hours to 80 to 90 hours a week sometimes during the implementation phase, it was hurtful, meaning that I did it, but I can tell you this, I would never, ever do something like that ever again in my life. And here's the thing, guys, right? When you're coming up, when you're coming up trying to climb the ladder, you're going to be put into situations where you have to work hard to make a name for yourself. I did it. It obviously benefited me with, helping me climb the ladder and get promotions after promotions and promotions after promotions and being able to get a lot of money. But for some people, they can't handle it because they aren't as mentally strong. They aren't as mentally strong. And I can tell you this, software engineering is not for the weak. It is not for the weak. It is a difficult role to be in. It is a lucrative role to be in. You can potentially get a whole bunch of perks because I got all the perks when I was a software engineer. But I can tell you something like this as well too. There was a lot of people that wouldn't travel for 268 days out of the year. A lot of the people, my peers, quit during that time. I was very close to quitting. I was very, very close to quitting in my career during that time. I stayed around because I wanted to make sure that the project was absolutely finished. And then one day I got a call. I got a call where I was given the #1 billable engineer in the company that I was working for at the time. I got a call that we get a free trip to Cabo. I got a call that I'm getting a $30,000 bonus. It freaking made my day. But a lot of people don't get this. A lot of people can't handle this. It rejuvenated me. But one thing I did do is I learned not to travel as much. And I learned that this isn't where I want to spend the majority of my career. So of course, I went down the management path. But what I wanted to do in this video is this, guys. I have a video or an article, Business Insider, about, hey, a software engineer quit her job because of the burnout. And this is something that you can face within your career. Let's get to the article. The article is, I left a 6-figure software engineering job because it was ruining my mental health. And here's how I knew it was time to quit. Debbie Lee quit their 6-figure job at Ryan to become a consultant to work, or a consultant to find work-life balance. She wanted to work-life balance, guys. Working 80 hours a week, traveling 268 days out of the week. You can't do that if you are married. You can't do that if you have kids. That work is for the birds. I did that early on without having kids, I was dating. My wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, but I barely saw her. It was funny what was funny about it was this. I was on the road so much where I would keep my car at the airport and I would have her pick me up on Fridays so that I can spend enough time with her in the car. We would get back to my apartment, we would chill, have some fun, right? Do all the stuff that young couples do. And then she'll be turning around, taking me back to the airport on Sunday for me to do it all over again. So I might as well keep my car at the airport. I wasn't paying for parking anyway. and it gave me enough time to spend with her, even in the car ride, because I lived a good hour away from the airport. So why not spend that extra hour with her? But anyway, let's get back to the article. She said that her former position deteriorated her mental health and made her feel like she worked 3 jobs. Wow. Her advice is to focus on yourself while taking actions that will better you personally. Let's get into the article, guys. So people will tell you how great it is to work in tech, and in many ways it is. The money, the perks, and setting up the Bay Area is undoubtedly a great deal. But my time as a software engineer broke down something far more important to me than money: my mental health. Man, it messed her up. I can tell you this, that year that I traveled as much, I took the entire month of December off, and I had to, because I was burnt out. My mental health, right? I didn't believe in therapists at that point in time. I didn't know anything about it. Probably needed somebody to talk to during that time. Instead, I talked to people over the internet playing John Madden football. I think that December, I lived on John Madden football, guys. I literally lived on John Madden football and had one of the best records ever in John Madden football. I think I was like, I played at like over 300 games, and I was like 300 and, had 300 wins and, like 98 losses or something like that. But I had a pretty good record. That's not bad for somebody who didn't have time to play video games, but I spent the entire month. Now, what I would say is this: I wish I would have had the mindset that I have now, to where I would have put that time, that month of December, into a business idea or starting YouTube or something like that. But I wasn't at that point in time in my life at all. It was early. So this is for the young folks out there who are getting out of college. When you do this sort of work, guys, you're going to get burnt out. Be mentally tough. But when you need to check out, make sure you're spending your time on something that's a little bit more productive than John Madden football. Let me continue on. All right? Her mental health was broken down. So two years ago, I left my six-figure salary as a full-time software engineer at Rhyme 2 and started working for myself. While the expectations of a traditional tech job left me feeling undervalued and overworked, now I found a balance of work and life which has made me happier and more fulfilled than ever before. The expectations and the culture of tech world, it deteriorated my mental well-being over the course of several years. Many times it felt like I was working 3 jobs rather than one. I was writing code, acting as a hiring manager, and throwing myself in diversity, equity, inclusion efforts at the companies I worked for. The latter 2 roles cost me an extraordinary amount of emotional labor, partially because I was one of the only FEMI and POC engineers at any of the companies, and it often felt like people looked to me to constantly be the one to speak up and voice inclusion-related concerns. Well, we all have our challenges. A lot of times, you're going to find yourself being the only one. Doesn't matter what your race is, right? You're going to find yourself being the only one. Yes, you're going to be asked to be part of these committees. If it is impeding on your mental health, if it is causing you to lose sleep, if you're doing more of this stuff than your actual job and you don't like to do it, say no. You don't have to do it. Say no. What I'm learning here is she might not have had the ability to say no. And that's another thing that you guys are going to have to learn. You're going to have to learn how to say no sometimes, guys. And even when I was doing well at 2 of those 3 jobs, my managers would point out my deficiencies in the third. Overall, it felt like the expectations were entirely unachievable and the experience left me drained. I felt like I was putting so much of myself in, and no matter what I did, wouldn't be enough. It reinforced patterns of negative self-talk and my tendency to be hard on myself, and made it that much harder to show myself compassion. Hey guys, I'm gonna tell you like this: if you're a high performer, you're a high achiever, and you wanna get it done, you're gonna put a lot of pressure on yourself early on in your life. Guys, at the end of the day, you gotta remember something: it's a job. It's a job. And if you want to be putting this amount of effort into something, make sure you have a plan. And it's gonna get you to ultimately what you wanna make from a salary perspective, right? But you still need to have a plan outside of that. Because what are you going to do when you get that money? Do you want to continue to do this for a long time? You should ask yourself these questions. What is it for? Who is it for? Is it to learn enough skills so 5 years down the line, you can go start your own consulting company? Ask yourself these questions, guys. I thought I had to present a particular version of myself to colleagues. Early on in your career, you ain't going to be authentic. You're going to be walking on eggshells. I did it. I'm going to tell you like this. Personally, It's not easy. You put a lot of energy into trying to be something that you are not. Playing the game. I think about it like this. A lot of times you become an actor, right? You become an actor. I remember taking the predictive index and it showed, and somebody read it and they were like, no, Antoine, you can't be like this. I'm like, yeah, that's my work personality. Now that all that stuff has adjusted a bit, but guys, sometimes you think you got to present a particular version to your colleagues, and you aren't going to change that until you get to a certain age, until you get to a certain amount of money. Then your true authentic self is going to come out. You're going to learn that people love that even more about you. But early on, when you aren't as skilled, you aren't as confident in things that you do, it's going to be a grind. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. So she said that she was spending all day in the office with coworkers, also took a lot out of me. It felt like I had to put on a particular version of myself every day I went to work. I felt like the office expected people to be happy and enthusiastic. I had to cover up my feelings if I was in any type of way, which was tiring and disheartening. Hiding any part of myself required a lot of energy and felt strange and disingenuous. I simply didn't feel like I could be myself at work, which depleted my sense of self-worth and confidence. These dynamics wore me down over time, leaving me feeling burnt out and unmotivated, and causing me to bring more stress into my life outside of work. It's not easy. Climbing the ladder ain't easy. I'm gonna tell you like right now, it's not easy. It's hard. One day it's good, next day it's bad, depending on who you're working for. But there's a lot of things that you have control over. That is your time, saying yes to certain things or saying no to certain things. And how much time that you're willing to invest on the things that's going to be beneficial for you. And that's what I want you guys to get from this message is, what are the things that's going to benefit you? Money. Get to the money. Take actions to make your life look the way you want it to. During this time, there were a few things I did to take care of myself, which I would recommend to others experiencing something similar. I found other people at the company I could trust, particularly other FEMI and POC employees. And POC, guys, is people of color. So she's a minority. So spending time with them and talking openly was a huge source of support because it felt like they could understand some of the ineffable dynamics affecting me. My community outside of work was also a big help in keeping me grounded and supported at the time when I was feeling like I could be emotionally open at work. Other than finding support in others, I also found support in myself. I'd recommend striving to be self-aware in environments you spend time in, because it's important to notice when they start taking a toll on your mental well-being. Your mental well-being, that is. Of course, the biggest piece of advice I can give is to actually take action in making your life look the way you want. 2 years ago, I left full-time work for good. I started freelance consulting, beginning with gigs a friend of mine couldn't pick up herself. Off the bat, I felt like I could let out a massive existential exhale. I didn't have to compartmentalize myself and my way of being in the way that I used to, where I would put on a different self when I went to work. I started living a slower paced life and getting in tune with how I felt on a day-to-day basis and what I wanted. I could take care of myself much better too. I had the time to cook meals and enjoy time with friends and didn't feel the stress of work bleeding into my life. Here's another piece of it, guys. Are you marrying your job? Are you marrying your job? Because are you going to commit so much to your job to where you aren't going to leave time to build relationships, right? I know a lot of people who committed themselves to their jobs and still to this day, they aren't happy. So for you women out there who are going into tech, ask yourself this question. Working 60, 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week, does that leave you time to be a partner, to learn the skills of being in a relationship? The skills that you're learning at work doesn't translate to being a good spouse. It does not. You have to be in a relationship to gain better relationship skills. If you're never in relationships that last long, you're not going to gain those relationship skills. Are you hurting yourself? If you want to get married, are you going to be spending 80, 60 hours a week listening to people that really don't care about you? And you ultimately want to be a wife or a mom? Ask yourself that question, guys. Ask yourself that question. It's undoubtedly scary to take a leap like leaving a conventional job to work for myself, but since I left full-time work, I've realized that one of the biggest obstacles in me achieving the balanced, happy life I wanted was simply believing it could happen. Today, I believe I'll be able to continue down this road further away from traditional work and closer to creative pursuits and other endeavors which fulfill me. It feels safe to work a full-time job for someone else, but it feels so much more freeing to be able to design and balance my life the way I want. On the financial side of things, today I don't make the same six-figure salary I did as a full-time engineer, but I schedule enough freelancing jobs so that I can make enough to live comfortably. This adds up to me working for about 20 hours a week total. More importantly, I might have money before, but I didn't have time. If life is about experience, joy, and relationships, I feel wealthier than ever. Guys, getting to the bag ain't easy. Getting to the bag ain't easy. She figured hers out. There's going to be many of you that are going to need to figure your path out as well. Male, female, person of color, not. Have a plan. Know it's going to be hard. Know what you're doing it for. If it's not for you, leave. But have some skills before you leave and you quit. Get to the bag, get some money. Get that money and use it for something else that's better. Start a YouTube channel. Do some freelance work. You can only do that stuff when you have some skills, though. So put in the time early. And understand that it may or may not be for you. I know a lot of the times I talk about tech being very awesome, and it does come with its perks. And depending on who you're working for, it can be absolutely magnificent. I love the work that I do. But there's times where I'm like, why am I doing it? But I also have a business on the side as educating people, coaching people like I'm doing here. That's a piece of it that helps keep me balanced. And I also have a family, a wife and kids that help me balance as well. So guys, you're going to need to think about all these things when you're getting to the tech space as well. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Do me a favor, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe button. And until next time, y'all. Peace.